Welcome to the SAG-AFTRA Foundation's Conversation at Home program in collaboration with the African American Film Critics Association. I'm Gil Robertson, president of AAFCA. Before we are joined by our guest today, I want to let you know that the SAG-AFTRA Foundation is a nonprofit organization that relies entirely on donations to provide emergency assistance and free educational programs to SAG-AFTRA artists. This conversation is made possible thanks to the generosity of our sponsors. Over the past year, the foundation has given over $6.5 million in COVID relief to more than 7,000 performers. If you are a SAG-AFTRA artist and need help, please ask. And if you can help, please give. Important information can be found in the description of this video. Thank you for your support. Now, without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce you to Siddiq Saunderson, Coco Jones, Zolee Griggs, Nicholas Ashe, and Geffri Maya. Welcome, everyone.
Hello,
peace, man. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I was just saying earlier, it's so great to to be virtually in the presence with a group of talented people who represent the next gen in Hollywood. We're going to start things off by I'm going to ask each of you to just give us sort of like the Cliff Note version of your journey so far. Zolee, we're going to start with you.
Okay, well, hi everyone, I'm Zolee Griggs. I started really young. I started doing print work and then I segued into commercial work. I was fortunate enough to do, guest star roles, recurring roles when I was a little girl. But, I transitioned into being an adult actress, I would say when I was like 18, 19, of course, when you're legally an adult. So I booked my first series regular on Wu-Tang and American Saga, which is amazing. And I've done a couple independent and movies since. So I'm very fortunate and happy to be here.
And where are you from?
Los Angeles, California.
Okay, LA native.
Oh, yeah.
Coco, what about you?
Yeah, so I started singing originally first, and I've been doing that before I could even talk. I performed, I guess my first big performance and platform was Disney's Next Big Thing, which is like an American Idol for Disney. I went on to like guest star on a couple of their shows, and I ended up doing Let It Shine, which was my biggest thing that I've done so far. But it also gave me like a great platform to really put out my own music and everything. I was with Hollywood Records, and that was all happening when I was young. And so now as I'm like getting older and figuring out like who I actually am and what I actually want to say, I have like this huge fan base that knows me and supports me, and they've seen me since I was 12 years old. And now I'm more looking to expand in my roles that I take. I have a guest star coming out with BET that's like a more adult type of role. So I'm just trying to slowly transition into like, we're all grown, I'm grown, y'all support me, y'all have known me since I'm a kid, but like, that's a separate entity to who I am now. So just figuring out that process and going through all the doors that lead me to who I feel like I actually am now.
And Geffri?
I too started off as a child actress. Shout out to the kid actors. We're still doing it. I think that we should honor that for sure. It's definitely been a long journey. I actually started off on Broadway. Nick, segue to you. I did Lion King as well, the Cheetah Tour. So it's kind of crazy, serendipitous alignment. But I started off doing Broadway and then grew up dancing. I trained with Debbie Allen for years, from when I was 8 until I was 17, 18 years old. So that kind of allowed me to kind of segue into doing more like just the arts as a whole, dancing, singing, acting, and kind of like putting it all together. And I'm very fortunate and grateful to be a young adult and, still on this journey of persevering and pushing and growing and learning. And I feel like for all of us in, this panel, it's a never ending lesson when it comes to the work and when it comes to art and when it comes to just being able to be a creative vessel. So I'm very fortunate enough to still be doing it and to still also love it. So I'm happy to be in that space. But yeah, it's been a long time coming. So, we here.
And Nick, what about you? What's been your journey?
Well, peace, Gil. Thanks for having me. It's good to be with you all. I feel like people think that we all like hang out at Soho House together all the time, but I'm a fan of all of your work, but I've never met some of you in person, so this is chill. Like Geffri said, I started with Lion King. I remember I was like 7, 8, 9 years old. I was in the living room singing Keisha Cole's Love, and my mom heard me and she was like, let's do something with that. What's this about? And she took me to the Lion King audition. And at the time, I thought I was auditioning to be a part of some local production where they would cast all of the characters as children. But it wasn't until I booked it that I realized I was a part of this professional thing and I was going to be making money and I was going to be joined by a bevy of actors who were supporting themselves doing what they loved, So that really opened my eyes. And I spent the next 4 years of high school trying to get back to that. I grew a fascination for theater. I come from theater, writing theater, directing, producing, that kind of stuff. And after that, I really wanted to liaison into film and TV. I met this gorgeous phenomenon named Ava DuVernay, and she gave me a chance. And working on Queen Sugar has opened up a lot of doors to help me realize not only my acting ambitions, but my ambitions to direct and produce and write for film and TV. So it's been a blessing. And I just mirror your sentiments, Geffri, of like, I love what I do. I really believe that the art we make has the capacity to change hearts and minds and legislature even, So I love what I do. And I'm grateful to be here. Peace.
And finally, Siddiq.
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Siddiq Saunderson. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I too have been acting since I was a kid, not professionally like y'all dope artists, but I've been passionate about acting my whole life, which led me to study and train at Carnegie Mellon University, which is where, I got my BFA in acting. And then from there, I was able to get a manager, an agent, and really kind of kickstart my professional career. Was blessed to have moved out to LA and within about 3 or 4 months, booked my first recurring role on a Netflix show. But my breakout series regular role is on Wu-Tang and American Saga with my baby and co-star Zolee Griggs. And yeah, I've just been trying to find my way, find my voice, and hold my voice as an artist in this time. Because although acting is my primary lane, I consider myself an artist, and I, write and direct and take photography and dance and kind of do it all. So I'm just trying to cultivate those skills as well and really just like find my place within the industry and define my space within the industry. Because at the end of the day, it's about like what we want it to be, not, the typical way. So that's my breakdown.
So now let's talk about preparation, which of course is something very key, in all the work that we do, but particularly, as an actor. Coco, you in particular, coming out of the Disney system, tell us about your process for preparing for a part.
For me, there's 2 different things that happen. Try to keep in mind that, okay, sometimes a role's not going to be written for someone like me, but I've had opportunities stem from going into casting directors and just meeting them and doing what I can do with the project and then walking away from it and knowing that this role's probably not going to give for me. However, I'm making connections and they're going to remember me. That's the goal with any time I go in that room. They're going to remember me, even if because I used to have this mentality of like, okay, this is obviously not written for me. This gas money I'm driving up here, my time learning these lines. You know what I'm saying? But I had to look at it more like, okay, every opportunity is an opportunity to have somebody think, wait, that girl Coco really did that. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I look at every role now. So when I do get a role, for me, the first thing is how well can I memorize this? I'm just keeping it a buck because I always have more confidence when I know it like the back of my hand. There's too much going on for me to like not be sure of what I have to say. You know what I'm saying? So I do a lot of memorization, and then I try and relate different people to what's happening in the story to make it like really real for me. But I'm not even gonna lie, I don't do like the super immerse yourself and like die. Like I want it to feel natural to me. So I just do what's natural to me. Like I make it situations where I know exactly how that felt and that happened to me or my girl. Like, you know what I'm saying? I keep it really like natural and grounded for like what I experience. And then from there, I just put my personal flair on it. And when I go into a room, I'm trying to like, I want to be able to walk away and be like, I know I gave it everything that I have to offer. So that's just my goal. That's just, I stay on a one track mind because every opportunity is one that somebody else would be grateful to have. You know what I'm saying? Like if you go in there thinking that these are just like exorbitant opportunities, you won't be grateful for each one of them. So I try to just remember like, you know, this could be your last one. You better go in and kill it, you know?
And Geffri, I mean, as a child actress, especially working on Broadway,
Yeah.
I mean, preparation is all about, you know, going on live stage.
Yeah.
So walk us through your method and your process.
I have to just piggyback off of what Nick said about going into the Lion King audition. I kind of think about being a child actor as, you know, being so fearless and just having fun. So once upon a time as a child actor, I was genuinely having a good time being immersed in this world. Again, not knowing how, just how severe the spaces could be, especially Broadway. Like, you know what I mean? It is a professional space, but as a child, you're just having fun. You're putting on makeup, you're doing hair, you're doing costume. Like, you know, it's so much that's going on, and it really feeds the youth. But as I've gotten older, and also to piggyback off of what Coco said, my process over time, it constantly just changes. And just kind of piggybacking off of what everyone said about just like wanting to define who they are as an artist through not just, you know, the work, but also just like living life, observing, reading, resting. I have to give it to COVID. Despite, you know, all that went on the last, almost 2 years now, I had a lot of time to sit and a lot of time to think and a lot of time to let go, which I also think adds a lot to the process of creating these characters. Because again, the characters that we play sometimes are going to be more lighthearted than others. Sometimes it's going to require a certain level of immersion, mind, body, and spirit. And sometimes it's going to be a role where you don't know what you want to do, and you kind of have to discover that with the character. So I kind of take all that into consideration when it comes to my auditions too. It's different every single time. Some auditions don't require me to study for 3 days and turn my phone off and not see people. Then you have some auditions where I can just walk in and just kind of feel it, you know? So I think that that's very key too. It's like truly connect, but don't let that youth joy for what we do go away, that youth of discovery and exploration. So I try to always go into it with that. And interestingly, COVID, you know, auditions have been like self-taping at home. So again, it kind of gives you more time to prep and stuff. But yeah, I find it more rewarding to just explore and just be okay with it being different every single time.
Great. And Zolee, what's your process?
Yeah, I really love what Coco said about just like not stressing all the time and letting it be something that relates to you. Like, I feel like sometimes, you know, I'll read a script and I'll have that same sentiment, like, I feel like this is not going to be for me, but you can't think about it in that sense. So sometimes if I don't per se like the script, I'll rewrite it in my own words. And, you know, I'll do the audition like that because I feel like it's something more relatable. It's something that, you know, just something that I can personally give to the casting director. And, you know, of course, they'll tell you if they want you to read it word by word. But most of the time, like, they're an open book and they're willing to see what you're going to give. So I just take my time, and I just experience. Like, I like to go out into the world, and, you know, when you can, I love to travel and meet people and experience and go to museums and all these kinds of things. And like Geffri said, just to simply observe. And that gives you a great perspective when you go in for like different roles and characters, because then you have something to pull from, whether you can say like, oh, that was like reminiscent of a family member that I have or something like that. Or it could be like, wow, I look back on that trip I took a couple months ago, and this really resonated with me here, then, and now. So just life, and like, auditions I had when I was a little girl are like completely different than how I am now. So the more that I grow and learn and mature, like, I feel like, I am as an actress as well. And so are the characters that I will be developing over time. So prep it just depends. It's on a case by case basis, but.
Yeah. Siddiq?
Yeah, pretty much, what everybody has said. I think that my process changes from script to script, from role to role. Some, like Geffri said, require, a little bit more focus, a little bit more, prep and research and stuff like that. So, if that role is like that, then I will, follow suit. But if it's something that, rolls off the tongue very naturally, I try not to get in my own way, because that can be a trap sometimes, especially coming from, any sort of training where you learn like the technique of breaking down the scene and objectives and actions. And sometimes, you have to do that work if it doesn't come natural, or I have to do that work if it doesn't come naturally to me. But other times, if it does, then I'd rather just not get in my own way. So I think it's about me envisioning myself in this world, really understanding the time that this is set in, and the rhythm of the rhythm and the pace and all those things, and just kind of filling in the gaps as much as I can to bring myself, so I can arrive fully as myself and as the character. I think that's my process.
And Nick?
Yeah, so when we get an audition, we get an email from our team, like our manager, our agent. It's a long email that has sides. They've chosen what scenes they want us to do. If we're lucky, we get a script. What I'm looking for, I'm like, yo, is this white people doing this or just black people? Like, what's happening? Who wrote this script? What's the team like? And then, like I said, I'll jump into the words. I really believe that every character is you in a different set of circumstances. So, okay, this is me. If my name was David and I had a baby mama and my mom passed away, and, et cetera. I'm just really trying to throw myself into that and seeing how it is I would respond. But something has surely shifted for us actors, because we haven't been in audition rooms. So you have to have like your own at-home setup to give your best performance. And I've become newly excited about that, because it used to be a headache. I'd be like, now I got to figure out this self-tape thing. But I'm trying to get back to Geffri. We keep calling on each other because we're just best friends now. But I'm getting back to Geffri, finding the joy, the creativity in that space. And it's still a learning curve, because the way you audition for a project is different from how you realize it on set. You know what I mean? You kind of have to give two different performances, one to get the job and one to do something watchable, So I'm learning, but I'm excited about it. Yeah.
I mean, what was navigating COVID like for you, each of you? The isolation, the not being able to have the intimacy that perhaps you enjoy when you're on set. Did any of you work through COVID, or work during the pandemic? Nick, I know you did. Anyone else?
Yeah,
I worked. Oh, go ahead, Coco.
What was that experience like, Coco?
I did independent film, and then I also did another guest star. And I feel like for me, COVID gave me a chance to like really decide if like everything I'm doing is really making me happy, because once you get that pause, all you have to do is like look around at how far you've come and where do you really want to go. And so I think for me, I appreciated slowing down and like deciding like, okay, I've pretty much given my whole life to this stuff. Like, what does that mean to me? Like, what do I like about it? What do I not like about it? How can I make it more enjoyable once things start up again? Like even to think about my audition process, when I would go in rooms and look around at everybody else and compare myself to them and who really fits the role. You know what I'm saying? Like things like that. Like I got to take, instead of just going through the next thing, I got to take a moment to be like, okay, let me like decide for myself that I like these things, that I'm willing to make these sacrifices continuously for the payoff, and, you know, questions that I really feel like I was not asking myself because I was just on to the next thing. So for me, I was grateful to, you know, really sit and learn more about myself and what I'm trying to do. And it helped me be more focused moving forward when things do get back to normal, if they ever do.
And Nick, what was it like for you working on the show during the pandemic?
It was tough. We had started February of last year and got shut down. We went back in the fall to finish the season. And it was difficult. What I loved about the season of our show, guys, is that we actually made a time capsule of 2020. So our characters were dealing with the quarantine and COVID and everything. So that was really therapeutic. I was also dealing with the loss of my mother late last year. So I had somewhere to channel all of those heavy, complicated emotions. So I was really grateful for it. But like I said, it was very difficult, interesting. The pandemic itself has allowed me to like get in touch with my artists more. And I think that as a result, that's informed my acting. You know, getting to know yourself better helps you bring other characters to life more vividly. So like I said, it was a difficult time. But for those of us who had the luxury, we got to stop and take pause and be like, yo, what's my trajectory? What is it giving? Like, do I want to continue on the way I have been? Or is this a chance to pivot, you know? And it was for me. I took that, and I'm on the other side of a lot of heavy stuff. Yeah.
Geffri, I think you had something you wanted to say, right?
Yeah, I was just going to respond to working in the pandemic. I was grateful enough to be able to work. I was doing 2 different shows at the same time, which is also a blessing, and the first time that I was ever able to push myself as an artist. But interestingly enough, like Nick said, like we started in February, but then we had so much downtime. So I had a lot of time to prep for just getting into these 2 different characters that were completely different. Like the dichotomy was insane, but it was a blessing because I had so much time to literally be with myself and also like channel certain things and, you know, even my own like, you know, tragedies through COVID, but there was also so many great things that happened again within self that I'm very grateful for, and I was able to utilize for both roles and both opportunities. Excuse me. But yeah, I just think that the main thing that was so necessary that I hope and pray continues on is just the unity that has to be built with your cast and crew. Because, you know, as actors, we're on set literally all day. We're with our cast and crew more than we're with our own family and close friends. And what I was so grateful for both opportunities was that each set felt like a family. So it wasn't necessarily about just getting the product, but it was about the people that were literally creating the product. And, you know, again, wearing masks and not being able to have the luxury of simply having lunch with people that you typically would. It was little things like that that you really started to pay attention to. But then it was also little things as simply just, you know, having conversation. How are you? How are you feeling? Do you need anything? That was really, really necessary to get through the day. And, you know, some days are better than others, but I think that what it's teaching all of us just in this business is at the end of the day, we do have a product to give out, and we have products that people are really happy to see, especially because that's all we had time to do was watch shows and movies, you know, so we were necessary, and it felt good to be necessary. But it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, you can't have a beautiful product and the people behind it not really adding up, you know? So I think it was a great opportunity to be able to say it was tough, but I had a great cast and crew of people that were supportive and full of love, and just, we all wanted the same result, like we all do in this room. You know what I mean? We all want the support and the love. So yeah, it was tough, but we got through it, and hopefully things get better.
Siddiq, Zolee, any stories to share about COVID?
I think, yeah, COVID last year, you know, as hard as it was a moment of pause that I think was necessary, at least for me. I wasn't one of the ones that was like, I love staying in the house. I hated it at first. And it really like kind of messed me up because I am a very, sociable person, and I like to be out and I like to meet new people. And I like, I like all of those things that were taken away from us at the beginning of the pandemic. But what it allowed me to do was just, take a second to think about like what I really want, the impact that I'm making, the power that I have as an artist, and how I can use it. During the summer, it was also like, a lot of Black Lives Matter protests happening and marches and stuff like that. So that was obviously also at the forefront. So now coming back from that, I think I'm very specific about the roles that I even audition for. Like if I get something that I'm just not feeling, or I feel like is, not reflecting me in a way that I want to be reflected, I'm declining the audition altogether. I'm not putting myself on tape. I'm not, because it's work to put together a self-tape, and I'm not going to put in work for something that I'm not going to want to actually work for. But yeah, it just kind of gave me a second to really like think about what was important to me, getting that close and everything being kind of up in the air. You have to like ground yourself in what you are about and figure that out when people are passing and, things are happening and you're not sure if gonna go to the store and there's gonna be the food you like or food at all or this or that, resources that we need and we kind of take for granted. So it really was a time to just check the inventory of self, I feel like. So that's what I did. And I think that honestly, that like inventory of self, I think is the artistry is what you provide as an artist. So I see it as a blessing because that time I really got to like check back in with myself. So I feel really confident about what I have and what I'm bringing to the table. And I feel like that shows in work, when you know what you have, when you know what you're bringing to the table, when you know what you're capable of, that's when the performance becomes a little bit more authentic. So I'm just kind of, I was definitely ready to get back on set when we started season 2. That was in February of this year. So still in the pandemic, a little, things kind of slowly started to open up, but, definitely getting tested 3 times a week or, having COVID tests even on the days off and masks and people reminding you to put your mask on when you're on set, even though you want to keep it off. Or me and Zolee having a scene where we have to kiss and then take mouthwash shots after every single take, like little stuff that was like, damn, but also like it's such a blessing because there are so many like fans that have been in my DMs and her DMs and everybody's DMs like, where's season 2? And it's like, y'all, it's a pandemic. Like we trying, like we're on TV, but we're also people. So like, give us a second. But it really is a blessing that we were able to complete it. Nobody got hurt or we didn't lose anybody this season while filming, and we now have something to put out into the world. So.
And Zolee.
Yeah, I just feel like 2020, as heartbreaking as it was, I think it really prepped me for 2021 in this moment. And it taught me also, it like strengthened my faith and not to question God, just because like I feel like everything was brought to fruition. And so I think 2020, I spent a lot of the time with family and friends and really manifesting what I wanted out of life, because I felt like in 2019, I was on high. I booked a series regular, it came out, like I was doing PR. It was a whole new world for me, like I felt like I was on cloud 9 and I was exactly where I wanted to be. And so for 2020 to come and snatch all of that joy from me, I was like, damn, so okay, what do I learn from this moment? And, I still was trying to keep it going because in the beginning of 2020, there were still auditions. And I hated self-tapes before 2020, like I prefer to go in. I prefer to meet people. All that kind of stuff. It makes me feel more at home. And so 2020 prepped me for that too. Like I'm so comfortable now with self-tapes and all that. So, I was trying to keep it going, but none of the things that I even auditioned for came to fruition last year. And so again, I was like, you need to reflect. Like maybe it's literally not time for you to work. You worked all 2019, like just relax. So that's what I did. I prayed, I manifested. I read a lot of books, the protests and everything were going on. So I really just submerged myself in the present. And it was beautiful to be in like December and to hear that we were going to start filming again, which was like a first miracle and a blessing. Auditions were picking back up again, which was, feeling good. And so it's funny because when we were on set, Siddiq and I, we were having a conversation with Bokeem Woodbine, who was our co-star, and he was saying like, oh yeah, once we're done filming, like summer comes, y'all are going to have jobs like thrown at you. Like it's so much stuff on backlog that, you're going to be turning down auditions and you get to decide what you want to do. And I feel like it's so true. Like it's been so many new projects, so many things that, people are reaching out for, and it's beautiful. And I feel like if I didn't have that moment last year to like relax, I probably would have been burnt out. And I have a bigger appreciation for where I'm at now too. Like I'm just so happy to be working again. And it was a big reminder too, of like why you want to do this and where's the love for it and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, 2020 was like a reminder, a blessing, and like a big manifestation year. So I'm super proud of where I'm at today. And hopefully continue to work, even though this pandemic's still here right now. So yeah, we're still working in a pandemic. Like it's not gone anywhere, but I'm back here, so.
Something that Siddiq touched on a moment ago, the Black Lives Matter, movement, and how it just really went to another level. And Nick, your character this past season really did get into that. And it was wonderful to watch how you, managed, those circumstances in the midst of a pandemic. But each of you tell us, how has the Black Lives Matters movement influenced your sense of self and your approach to in the work that you take on?
I think for me, I really just appreciated the voice that Black people got. I felt like we were being heard in a way that just should be more normal, even though it came out of unfortunate circumstances. And for me, I really got, I guess, like a second wind in my own journey to like be representation for my fellow dark-skinned Black girls, because I remember how crucial it was for me to see somebody like Raven-Symoné, and I want to be that for somebody. So for me, it kind of gave me like an additional push of perseverance, even with everything going on in the world. I don't want to let my people down. I don't want to be somebody who gives up. And I mean, we all have our different journeys that include struggle, and I want to be that person that can help somebody else up. So that means I got to get to where I want to go. And for me, the Black Lives Matter movement just gave me that extra motivation to like keep hustling and keep striving, and to be that opportunity one day for somebody else that looks like me to help them accomplish what I'm looking to accomplish. Yeah.
First of all, Coco, you talking about, Raven-Symoné inspired you. I feel like Raven walked so you could fly. Like that's done. Like vocals, humor, you're very gifted.
Thank you.
For me, I really lead with this civic charge of like, the work we do should inform the times, right? So if I am doing some story about these people who lived some 400 years ago, how does that inform the present and help us navigate what we are currently dealing with? And if I'm in the future, on Mars or something, again, what are we taking from that emotionally? How do audiences leave changed? So like Siddiq, when I get an audition and it doesn't somehow do that, that's not the career I'm trying to have. I'm not trying to be the best friend Zeke in the hallway. Like, that's not what God has for me. Shout out to the Zekes of the world. That's not my lane, So I felt empowered the way Coco did to represent for the gorgeous dark-skinned women. I came out as queer. I was like, I really need to advocate for people who look and love like me. It's right that today is James Baldwin's birthday, you know what I mean? He's somebody that definitely advocated for us. And I just really wanted to make sure that everything I touched pushed the dial forward, or I felt this newfound determination of everything I do, I want to make my ancestors proud, and I want to make my great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren proud. That was like my new barometer after the Black Lives Matter. I didn't want to be derivative or like taking that momentum off course in any way, you know? So that was a really, and I've been about that for some time, you know, protesting and stuff. So I was happy when it became mainstream and, you know, people were posting Black squares and stuff. It was really like we were all participating in something that was bigger than us. Yeah.
Just, again, piggybacking off of things that Coco said and things that Nick said, you know, everything that came like from the protest, like where the protest started from, it's very unfortunate that it takes it to get so dark for, you know, the sun to finally come out again. And it was very tough. I had never felt so compelled to participate in protests until 2020. Not saying that I wouldn't have, but the truth of the matter is everyone's front line looks very different. And I think that the beautiful thing about 2020 was that everyone had the opportunity. It didn't matter how many protests you went to, but maybe it was just about a conversation that you were navigating. Maybe it was about a piece of work that you wanted to create and write. Maybe it was turning down a job that you felt didn't, you know, inform the times, or wasn't really pushing a certain agenda that needs to provoke a certain amount of change. And I was grateful to be able to immerse myself in, you know, the spirit of protesting and, you know, fighting for a cause that is so much bigger than just this present moment, but for, you know, children to come, for our ancestors, and to just be better within ourselves. And I think that, you know, no matter what we have gone through as a people, I've never not wanted to be Black. I've never not been proud of being Black. And all that, you know, these protests did was, you know, continue to unify us, continue to keep us looking forward. Again, we have so much work to do. Hundreds and hundreds of years is just embedded in us that we have to continue to shake off over time. It's not going to happen overnight, but it does start with us. It does start with the conversations. It does start with movements. You know, you got to make some noise in order to, you know, to get some sort of reactions. And, you know, Black Lives Matter, I think that what they're doing is fantastic. I think that it's causing conversation. I think that it's causing necessary unity. And I feel like their agenda is for the greater good of just unifying Black people. It's not saying that no one else matters. It's just saying that, you know, we kind of feeling like, you know, we could matter just a little bit more. And that's what I think that people need to realize. You know, just because I'm celebrating me doesn't mean I'm not celebrating you. I'm just taking my moment right now. And that's what we as a people need to continue to just operate in unapologetically, especially the work that we're creating. I feel very strongly about creating our own content, like how all of you are writing and directing. Like that's something that I, you know, am passionate about as well. And having the time to have been able to create and to watch and to read and, you know, just to navigate all of that. And it does start with us. And I'm sorry, but we shouldn't be asking nobody that don't look like us permission to be us, especially on the page. So I feel like we need to start operating from there as well. Really coming through being like, yes, you could be a part of it, but it starts with me. It starts with you, all of us in here, you know? So I think that like, that's also what Black Lives Matter is pushing. Again, self and having the audacity, period. Being like, absolutely, this is me, this is who I am, and I ain't going nowhere. So, yeah.
I'm thankful for the outcome, like for what we're going to see. I feel like a lot more funding and projects by Black writers and producers and directors are coming forth because now people feel, you know, it was uncomfortable. So I feel like people were pushed over that edge to be like, you know what, we should take that chance. You know, we keep seeing the same movies, shows, and everything getting produced or regurgitated back at us when we're shouting from the rooftops, like how we want to be presented, how we want to be represented, like the things that we want to see. And so I'm grateful for now seeing that, like, you know, because we're actors, I get to read scripts and see like, finally, they're coming with something refreshing, something new. And like Nick was saying, like when I'm reading the script, I'm like, are there Black people a part of this? You know, is it authentic? And so, yeah, I'm just appreciative of the outcome that 2020 had. I mean, was utter insanity to go through it, but like even not on a internal work, like not even thinking about just work, but I think 2020, as far as the protest, really had me reflect on like my team and who I had close to me. And it made me like, cool, I really need to only have like Black people around me in any way, you know, supporting and all that kind of stuff. And it reminded me like I need to be putting my money where my mouth is. So making sure that I was had my Black dollar circulating in the Black community, in, you know, Black manager, things like that. So making sure that every dollar counted and it really was going in the right places and spaces. So, yeah.
I don't know. I felt a lot of things through that time. I know that I'll start off with kind of the bad and then make my way towards the good. I think that there was a lot of performative stuff going on, which, because of social media, given the collective pause that we all had to take, I got so many messages like, how are you? Are you okay? What's going on? And I'm like, what you think? Like, answer that question first and then bring your guilt to me once you have kind of figured it out. So that way I don't have to bear that weight, because I'm not for that either. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you want to support me and I appreciate it, but also not right now. So I definitely felt that for a bit of it. But yeah, I mean, to me, it was beautiful, but it wasn't new. You know, I think a lot of people were like, oh my God, like, this is the time, this is the moment, like, fuck the police. And it's like, people have been saying that for years, you know. Now it's like, okay, what can we do? What can we actually do? You know, how can we actually get these reparations? How can we actually get these dollars, like Zolee said, to these Black businesses? Like, what steps can we actually take? Let's not act like this is surprising, because if every time this happens and it repeats and we're surprised and people are surprised that it's happening, it's like, are we actually making progress? Or are y'all just like waking up and then going back to sleep and then waking up and then going back to sleep because I'm tired? You know what I'm saying? So I think that again, that time just made it really important for me to figure out what exactly it is that I want to do, what type of work I want to do, how I can utilize, you know, my identity to show the complexities that exist within the Black community, not playing just one type of Black man, not playing one type of Black character. Also working on this second season of Wu-Tang, we got to work with the legendary Mario Van Peebles. And a lot of the time when we would have our group scenes or we would be performing or be a moment of joy, he was really adamant about being like, look, we don't get to see this often. We don't get to see a group of Black men being joyful, you know, being talented and brilliant and really living in that and being happy. And so I think that was like super important about how we navigated this second season and just how I navigate the rest of my career. You know, I recently got some offer to be a part of a 6-man robbery crew. And I was like, no, you know, from the beginning, I was just like, nah, I'm not doing that, you know, because it's just like, why, you know, and yeah, I just feel like we've already seen enough of that. And for me, I'm just going to use everything within my power to change the narrative and to redirect the ship, you know. And I think that we, you know, meaning all of us that's on this chat right now, I think we all have that power. And it's really, really inspiring to hear that we're all kind of on the same page as far as that, because I feel like that's where the real change is going to happen. It's not going to happen from like, you know, white Hollywood being like, let's diversify everything because it is now, you know, now we can make money off of diversity. You know, I see through all that too. So it's just kind of like, how can we be on the same page so we can move the needle? Because at the end of the day, we are the only ones that have the power to do so, I believe. So
this is fantastic. Let's talk about race and gender. Does race and gender still present the same type of obstacles that it did for previous generations? Or do you sense that things are getting easier, particularly for Black women? I mean, it's just that there's so few quality roles, you know, for Black women. But what is it like, you know, being a Black actor, Black actress today? Are race and gender still the big mountain you've got to climb over?
I mean, It's definitely gotten better. I mean, there's people like Issa Rae who have created whole platforms where Black stories are being told. So the more that people get to the top and open doors, the more doors there'll be for, actors like us who want to create and who want to show their artistry in this way. But transparently, we live in a colorist world, especially in this industry where it's dominated by mostly white people for the most part. That's how it's been, and of course it's getting better, but it started really not. So I feel like specifically in this industry, and I can only speak for my perspective, it's challenging because for the most part, from what I've experienced, femininity in Black women is more associated with lighter skinned women, and masculinity is more associated with darker skin, men, you know what I'm saying? So like the roles are kind of like, oh, he's always chasing the beautiful, lighter, fairer, you know what I'm saying? From what I grew up watching for the most part. And so I am grateful for the opportunities that kind of change the narrative. Black women as like more than just like the second thought, like dark skinned women more than just like the second thought is changing the narrative. Honestly, these things were only this way because that's just how it kept being produced. So that's just how you keep receiving it. But anything can change if the narrative starts to change. So, I mean, like I said, I see it getting better with time, and I want to pursue and continue to pursue so that I can make more opportunities. And then, before you know it, like it's a completely different story that we're reading, but it just takes little by little to change the chapters that we're in. But it's no joke. It's difficult sometimes. And you really have to focus on like standing out as much as you can and bringing something original to the table as much as you can. Because I've also had roles that weren't made for me, that they were changed for me because I brought something different to the table. So you really have to recognize what's going on around you, but don't let that deter you from like your ultimate goal. Because like I said, we're in different times and different things can happen now that honestly our fellow ancestors in the past would have never got some of the opportunities that we get. So we have to stay grateful and stay open to change and create it ourselves.
So Nick, talk about navigating the gender and color line in Hollywood.
I mean, the answer to your question is yes. Like it's still an issue, as Coco has like very thoroughly explained. I would just like to copy and paste everything she said as a woman right into the chat, luckily we are experiencing a shift, like the paradigm is shifting because producers, directors, writers are all getting younger and Blacker. So that's a really good thing, but it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, and I just hope that those of us in this Zoom call, on this panel right now, live to see the other side of it, It's just beautiful to see that you all are, participating in that, because that'll expedite it a whole lot to say, listen, I can't do this. I know that the check is looking right, but, I got to stand for something, So that's really beautiful and inspiring, and I hope that people who are just starting out aren't too hungry for fame and the blue check, that they take anything like that they really align themselves to a purpose and ask themselves, well, why am I doing this? So yeah, I agree with Coco.
Siddiq?
I think that things are changing slowly but surely, but also, there's still a lot to be worked on and a lot to be done. And I think that there is this kind of influx of Black creatives and Black producers that are challenging, but more than beyond challenging, I feel like we're paving our own way. Like a lot of people talk about that and it's like, well, why don't we have our own this, or why don't we have our own that? And now we're like really starting to, and there's a lot of like Black run production companies that are producing the work that gets recognized. And that's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in cultivating those types of relationships. You know, like Coco said, like Issa Rae, I was watching an interview of hers where she was like, it's more important to, instead of looking upwards and being like, how can I get there? How can I make those connections? It's about like looking from side to side, you know, and seeing like who's also on the rise together, which is why I feel really blessed to be a part of this panel, because it's like, if we hear now, like if we keep staying on this same vibe and staying in contact with each other and really creating, like, imagine what 10 years from now looks like. You know what I'm saying? So I do think that it is changing, but I also think that there's a lot to be done. And that's why I challenge, you know, I know like when I graduated from school during Showcase, I was told, you know, by some people that it was like a hard to be white in the industry right now. And I was like, well, what are you talking about? Like, when has it ever been hard to be white in America, period? Like, I don't want to, like, I can't accept that rhetoric. Like, I can't accept you saying that to me in my Black face. Like, as many challenges as I've gone through in my life, to afford myself some of the opportunities that just come so naturally for other people. It's like, don't tell me that, please. You know, like, I know that diversity is very trendy right now, which is a problem in itself. Because if you're really just doing this to fulfill some sort of trend, like, are you actually helping the forward momentum of this, or is this all for show? Which is crazy, because that's what we do. We're in an industry where we make shows, and people are making shows on top of shows. So it gets tricky, and it's really important. But I have a lot of faith in where we can be headed, because it does seem like a lot of the conversations are happening in a way that they weren't happening before. You know, like, and we have to just support each other. We have to uplift each other. We have to be mindful of how quickly we, quote unquote, cancel people. I believe, you know, like, let's have conversations. Let's like educate each other so we can all get better. Because at the end of the day, when we're united, like, nothing can really stop us, because we already got the talent. I mean, look what's been going on for so long, and, you know, so many generations before us coming in, we've been inspired. And that was before we were given opportunities. So now imagine when the playing field is a little more leveled, and there are more opportunities for Black and brown folks to come on the scene. There's like a ton of talent, you know, that just needs a spot. And I'm adamant about creating those spots and working with people who are also creating those spots, so that we can really shake this up.
Okay. Zolee?
Yeah, of course, things are getting better, and they're going to continue. While, like we said, more Black directors, producers, writers are given the opportunity and knock down those doors, but we are still Black people in America, and, you know, in the heart of the industry is white people. And so it's like, you gotta sometimes deal with their ignorance. Like Coco was saying, you know, like, when I go into a casting room, it's like, perfect, you're the perfect Black girl. And it's like, because you have a certain perception on like your limitations of what a Black girl should be, you know, like, of course, Black people understand colorism, and we understand the history behind it and the spectrum that we come in so many different shades and things. But when you go into a audition and it's just like a bunch of white people, this is it for them. This is as dark as it goes. They don't understand, like, they don't even have a concept of colorism. So I think now we're kind of addressing, like, there's intersectionality. That's basically what I'm trying to say is, yeah, it's getting better, but there's a lot of intersectionality. Like, yeah, I'm a Black woman, but it depends on like who is looking at me, who perceives me on, you know, what comes first, or like what matters first, you know? And all of our challenges are different. Like, I'm not going to sit up here and act like I have it as, you know, hard as somebody else, considering like I'm a straight woman. So I can't relate to, you know, my queer counterparts and things like that. Like, everybody's experience is different. But the important thing is, with the platform that you're given and the power that you have, how are you going to open those doors for other people who look like you? So what I hope to do in the near future is, like we all have been saying here, like, I hope to write and produce my own projects to where I can bring on my family and bring on, you know, people that look like me and people who want those opportunities, so that the whole family can eat. Because then once they're on, then they can open the doors and do the same. And then it's a never ending, cycle. So we don't have to always look to white people to be like, hey, can you have this opportunity for us? It would really be great. Like, we don't have to do that anymore. We're in a new day, new age. So I'm going to reach out to my counterparts, all of you guys here and so on and so forth, who are writers and, so we can produce our own stuff and we can put it on any kind of platform that we want and we can monetize it. And that's just what it is. So yeah, it's always going to get better. Also, because look at our generation. Like, I feel like we really can do anything we put our minds to, and we're strong about, our morals.
Nick, you had something to add?
Yeah, I do. That was so beautifully said that it just, light bulb the thought about how we work on Queen Sugar. Ava, has hired exclusively women directors. So we've been working on the show for 6 seasons, and every episode was directed by a woman. And as far as like the crew goes, they look like us. You got to be able to do these hairstyles and things like that. And it's lucrative. It informs the show that we make. It's easier to make soul food when you got people who know how the macaroni's supposed to taste, and that the yams need to be candied. And you know what I mean? So what we're all describing just makes sense. The work benefits from it. And I'm just tired of watching shows and being like, I can get one black person, I can just make her black just because, you know what I mean? I'm tired of that because it's not realistic. I really want our shows to, I'm sitting in Manhattan right now. Our show should look like the streets we walk down, It's just not realistic to leave out a color or an orientation and stuff. It's tired. It's 2021.
I think the beautiful thing about what everyone has said is just adding on to just the Black experience, and I think that it's beautiful to be able to say, I have a different one, because that is how we propel. If everyone thought the same, had the same experience, we would be in the same spot. You know what I mean? Is it unfortunate that, there's colorism? Absolutely. My thing is, me, Zolee, and Coco, we Black women, different shades, different backgrounds, but we are Black women. And it's unfortunate that we, especially in the audition room, oh my God, it's unfortunate that we have to come in and feel like competition. When it's like, no, what's aligned is aligned, period. We should walk in and say, hey sis, kill it. Is it yours or mine or someone else's? And if it's not ours, we'll go to lunch and talk about it. You know what I mean? It shouldn't feel like some sort of combativeness. And it shouldn't start with what we can't control. I can't control how brown I am, just like the next person can't control how light they are. And I just hate that that's the case, especially with Black women. And then when it comes to our beautiful Black men, it's the same thing. Like what Coco mentioned about, the darker skinned man is more masculine. Or there's just these certain narratives that have been created because of social constructs from people that don't look like us. You know what I mean? And of course, history as well. We can't control that, us, and our ancestors as well. Like they couldn't control that. But I think that what we can control is continuously having these type of conversations, continuously just being on the forefront of, like you all mentioned about Issa Rae, looking beside you, not above you. You know what I mean? Looking beside you. How can you build from this moment? How can you take what you're receiving, especially a conversation like this in this panel on a beautiful Monday morning or afternoon, taking it and either like giving it to someone else or just taking it and like applying it to your everyday life or your work. And I think that the beautiful thing about what's happening, like Nick said, is 2021. There's just certain things that's just like, why are you still tripping off that? Has to do with race and gender. You know what I mean? Like, truth be told, I had a conversation, and I actually continuously have this conversation because, again, if you have an opportunity to not be ignorant, then take it. And my thing is, did I grow up having to express my pronouns? No, I did not. But now we live in a day and age where people would like you to ask that. So I try to add that to my conversation out of respect to the fact that we are growing and shifting as people. And there's just a certain level of authenticity that people can take or they can leave. And I feel like as long as we all walk in our truth, from race to gender, just simply being ourselves, that's the reflection that's necessary to propel and keep us going in this direction of change and transition. And I think that as long as we respect each other, even if I don't agree or understand, it's not about that. but it's just about walking in your truth. And I feel like once we do that, then things in our industry will just naturally start to just come to us and attach to us, and then continue to be shared and explored and just given to the world. And like we all said, the world looks like this panel, and it looks beyond this panel. And we just have to understand that and continue moving through that my story is not going to be the same as yours, even if we look alike. And if we don't look alike, that should be a even greater conversation. You know what I mean? So I feel like we just got to start operating on that. But us as a people, as Black people, we just got to start embracing our truths and supporting each other from start to finish.
Wonderful comments. We're getting tight on time, so I'm going to combine the next two questions. Tell me what it's like for you to, how do you achieve balance, with your professional and personal life? And also, what has it been like to navigate fame? Now, when you go home, when you even encounter family members, you're a famous person, or when you see your friends from high school or from college, or just your everyday life. Talk about that process, and that talk about those experiences and how you are learning to find balance and remain grounded.
For me, I feel like this industry creates balance, regardless of whether you want it or not. If I could have it my way, I'd be booked every day, but that's just not what it gives. So I think I have a natural ebb and flow just because of the industry that I'm in. And this career is not a 9 to 5. It's we're up, we're booked, we're down, we're up and we're stuck, and we're down and out. You know what I'm saying? So I think that naturally gives me that balance of like, okay, and for me, I do music as well. So I'm like, all right, this is slow, time to get in the studio. Okay, I can't do the studio anymore. I'm working 12-hour days. Like, I'm tired, So I feel like it naturally gives me this balance, the career that I've chosen. And then also, I'm grateful that I can sometimes be like, look, I have nothing to do. I'm out. I'm going to go see my family. I'm going to go travel for a little bit. I feel like, although I do like the idea of the security and repetitiveness of like something consistent, it is kind of refreshing sometimes to be like, I'm just going to go, and then I'll go and I'll learn something and I'll experience some things and I'll come back and then I'll have more to offer to this industry than I did if, I was just going and going and going. And as far as fame, I experienced a wave of that when I was super young and did not know how to react at all. And so for me, I feel like I would do this all and not have the fame. Like, that to me doesn't really give what I ever wanted. I'm most happy when I'm creating and when I'm making my concepts a reality. Like, all of that cloud or whatever that is, it just doesn't hit for me. So for me, I've remained humble because I didn't like that. And I still don't. Like, I know where like real support is because I've seen those highs and all of that fame, and then I've seen them lows, and I'd be like, where y'all at? So for me, I think the way I stay grounded is to like appreciate the people that are supporting me, but know that like my circle has to be really solid so they can remind me like, all right, stay humble if I ever, get my head gassed up, and they can be there for me when it's low and slow, because that's when it really counts who's really around you, is when you're not winning. Yeah, that's it.
I literally agree with everything Coco said. I think that fame is a very relative term. I think that if you're about that and you want a certain level of attention and influence, that's great. Especially the term influencer. I think it's shifting. It's insane. Not my ministry. Love that for most people. But again, I think it's just based on your purpose and your not y'all cracking up in silence. I don't even know. But I think it's everyone's intention is different. Everyone's intention is different. And if fame is something that you want, there is a price for that. Just like there's a price for everything. But I think that the beautiful thing about, again, having a set intention is that you intend to find that balance. So it's kind of like, if you're not about, having all of your business out there or just like putting yourself in a position to where you don't have that privacy, then you simply just will not. But I think that for me, I just constantly wake up every day and always remind myself why I'm doing what I'm doing. And fortunately, it has never been for fame. It has always been to inspire, to include, to immerse, to motivate, and to truly just enjoy and have fun and just, follow my purpose and trust what it is. And also, like Coco said, when you up, it's stuck and you're just like, woo. But when you are down, it's, it really is an ebb and flow to this business. So I think that ultimately it starts with, again, that self that we all talked about. Like, you just got to honor where you're at, and when you're up, you do have moments of just, wanting to go and wanting to experience and wanting to just be. But I think, finding that balance is just taking time with self and really honoring why am I doing what I'm doing? Because it could change. It could change. But yeah, I think it matters where it's coming from, and it starts with you.
Zolee?
Yeah, I think for me, finding balance is boundaries. Boundaries with family who are like, oh, you famous. Like, I love you, I respect you. And because we're family, I'm going to have these boundaries. This made me uncomfortable. Don't do this. Don't speak up. Like, nothing has changed. We used to go to family reunions. Why are you acting weird now? It's boundaries. Same with social media. Like, I love social media. I get to talk to my friends. I get to see what you're up to. I get to everything. But also, you don't have to know everything, my whereabouts, my private life, it's boundaries, and it's what you make of it. It's what you intend to, you give a little and you keep a lot. It's up to you to decide what you want to give. And like everybody has said, the fame will come. We live in America. That's the point of the industry, is to get famous so they can use you as endorsements and money. It's all about money. So that will come. If that's what you're worried about, then all you have to do is have a phone and be on social media and go act the ass out in public. That is free 99. You can do that easily. But if you're worried about, telling stories and the talent and how it makes you feel, then that is the true balance, because that's where you will be immersed, and that's where your focus will be, and everything else will follow. And I will always stay grounded and be humble, because that's how I was raised. My grandmother would never let me slip. My mother would never let me slip. God would never let me slip. So I'm very honored to be able to say that. I can say it proudly. I do have friends and family who will let me know and who love me enough to be real with me. And I would hope that everybody will be real with me. Don't sugarcoat it, But I have faith in myself enough to know that I would never slip, because now that I do work and I see it so often with other people, it's ugly. And I would never want to taint my talent, myself, my reputation, or whatever by being ugly. Because once you are within, it comes out. And next thing you know, you looking around, you ain't got no job, you ain't got no friends, you, yourself, and you. So yeah, I just don't want to live my life like that. And I hope to have longevity and love and balance and boundaries. And I wish the same upon my peers, because that's where y'all hearts, minds, bodies, and souls are. So wishing y'all nothing but love and prosperity.
Siddiq?
Yeah, like Zolee said, boundaries are important. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's super important. I think my toe is in the pond of fame. I don't think I'm necessarily famous, but I do feel like now I'm moving into becoming a more public figure, and that comes with some challenges. It is not why I got into this at all. I didn't even think that, I remember growing up and being like, I'm not cool enough or look good enough to be on nobody's TV. And now I'm on everybody's TV if they got Hulu, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like, it was a bit of a shift. It has been, especially when the promo comes up and I'm trying to hop on the train, but my face is also on the train. It's kind of crazy because I'm just like, I guess I got to mask up because I'm going to still take this train because it's 275 and I'm from Brooklyn and I'm never going to not be from Brooklyn. So I'm going to take the train, but also like my face is right there. So yeah, it's just about boundaries. It's about protecting because, once you become that public figure, people think that they're owed access to you for some reason. I don't really understand that, like are owed this access. So, I mean, I love when people come and it's like, yo, it's love. Like, you're my favorite character, or like, I love the show, or, you know, write me on Instagram. I really appreciate that, because I take that love in, and it you know, it fuels me in those times when I'm on set and it's really late and I don't want to be there and I don't care about anything else but my bed. And then I think, oh yeah, like, people really are excited about this. Like, let me actually keep committing myself to this moment and to this work, because people, you know, it inspires people. And I think that's really powerful. But as far as the fame and all that other stuff, I mean, I'm good. Like Coco said, like, if I could just not have that aspect, but keep working, that would be lit. But that's just not, you know, it's a give and take. And as far as the balance, yeah, like Zolee said, I mean, putting God first is what helps me and keeps me grounded. Praying, realizing that there's a reason why I am in this predicament and in this position, and not putting all this work and time and effort and master classes and regular classes and dance, you know, just all types of stuff to now be kind of getting this fruit of my labor. So just trusting in that, and trusting that God picks the certain people that he picks for the reason, that it's not really our job to question that. It's just our job to kind of live truthfully in those circumstances and remain humble, and putting God first, I think, will keep me safe and can keep me on this journey, because I don't plan to stop acting or creating, you know, professionally at all until I choose to maybe become a farmer in Cuba. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, but until then, like, I'm on this journey, and I feel like putting God first, keeping my family close. You know, when I go out, I'm not hitting up, you know, whoever on Instagram to grab a drink that I don't know. I got homies from high school still that I would much rather be at the bar with, you know, because they just my homies, and they stay cool too. Like, they're not on TV, but they're really cool, and they're really dope people, and they keep it real, and they're never gonna let me slip up, you know, like y'all have all said. And I think that is just really, really important, because, you know, and then I do have some homies where it's like, oh, you Hollywood, or oh, you do this, oh, you going here, that's Hollywood. And it's like, well, no, it's just my reality. And if it's weird to you, then maybe we don't need to continue in this way. But if it's not weird that I'm on what I'm on and you're on what you're on, because I don't think I'm better than anyone, I'm just living in my reality. If we can both exist in our own realities and find that common thread, then cool, let's keep it going until whenever, you know. That's how I am with my friends and people I keep close with.
And Nick?
Gil, I'd be remiss. I have to say that, as per your last question, with our shared experiences about gender and race, that leaves our trans brothers and sisters and siblings as the most marginalized group. So as we talk about assembling these rooms and stuff, we got to remember to include them in the conversation. And
absolutely,
just wanted to add that little piece. But as per balance, you know, don't get me wrong, fame was very attractive to me. You know what I mean? I was like, I want the blue check. And there's something very fun about, you know, a car coming to your house and picking you up, or you're at the airport and your last name is on an iPad. You're like, yep, that's me, and those are my bags. Like, there is something that's very attractive about it. But once you become more immersed in it, and you're suddenly at this like A-list celebrity's house, and you see people drinking and doing drugs and very deeply unhappy and trying to live their lives in a way that it looks good for social media, you know, it just came to me all at once that, like, wow, life is a long time to be happy, and I will never be happy if I put my happiness in these ephemeral things, you know? So I took a big step back, and I was like, well, what can I put it in? You know, I can put it in me, in meditation, in therapy, and making sure I'm good and I'm taken care of. And the hardest part of that, of learning myself and making sure I'm healthy and I'm good, is that everybody couldn't come with me. So you've just mentioned, like, you know, our high school friends and stuff. And I really wanted to be like, yo, these are my niggas since 2013, feel me? Like, we out here. And it was saddening to know, like, yo, I can meet people who have better considerations for me today than the people that I've known for a long time, who are much more interested in the things 2012 Nick used to do and say, you know? So it's just been surrounding myself with people who are interested in that evolution, me reinventing myself and my artistry. And as a result, you find balance that way, or at least I have, you know, unplugging, a big part of our answers has been like social media. I think we all have heard somewhere that in order to be a successful artist, you have to maintain this presence online. I'm not too interested in that. I'm pretty elusive on social media. I'll get on there when I have something to say, type it up. But other than that, I'm not interested in popularity. I'm much more interested in platform and foundation and what I can do with that. Yeah.
Amazing. Real quickly, because we've got to go at a few, but long range goals. We're gonna start off with you, Zolee. What's the end game?
You said the end game?
For you and your career.
The end game. Wow. Well, the end game is to have a very long resume and classic films to look back on. Like I look back and I watch movies with my family, my boyfriend, and we look at movies from, the 90s. And, back then, probably like in the 90s, when I put myself in like my mom's shoes, she'll say, oh, that movie, you like that? That was so corny back in the day. And I'm like, no, like this is a classic now, like the wardrobe, the writing, like just everything about it. It was so diverse. It wasn't forced. And so those are the types of things that I want to be a part of. Like it might not hit in 2021, but when I have kids, at the end goal and game, when they can look back on things like, Mom, that was such a timeless piece. Like it really set the tone of what 2020, 2021, and so on and so forth, and what your youth was like. And so just to have memories, just to be able to open a bunch of doors for other people, not just myself, to be able to, have a stable family at some point, and to give like honor and grace to my ancestors and my family who, if it weren't for them, I wouldn't be here. If it weren't for my roots, I wouldn't be here. And just to give them the praise. And in saying that, I really want to shout out Geffri and Nick, because I went to the Lion King so many times as a young girl. We were all the same age. And that was like, in that moment too, like watching, theater made me so much more excited to go into church and do the church, speaking in the plays we had in school. So thank you guys for even being a part of that LA community. Like that was so big in LA for like a decade. So thank you. But yeah, just to, be a part of these classic pieces and to make beautiful memories and friends along the way. So yeah, just to live a great life.
Siddiq?
Yeah, I want to be happy. I want to influence people and inspire people and be influenced and inspired. I think that we as artists have the most power than any other, lane, I feel like, in the world, because art is a reflection of life. And so as we are living, we are creating art. As the art is being created, we are living our lives. And I think that there's something super powerful in that. The end goal for me, I want to be an EGOT. I'm not even gonna lie. But it's not about the awards, but I think that that's so amazing to have like theater, to be known for theater and film and TV and music, like really just kind of embrace that artistry. I'm going to have my own production company one day. And I also want to run my own school, because I think it's so important to be a mentor, and to give back, to reach behind. Because so many people, I constantly am reflecting on my journey. And I think that there's so many free programs and, people that would meet up with me, teachers that would meet up with me after school to run my monologues for college. And just like so many people who have helped influence the artist that I am today. And I think that that is really, really powerful, because it does start, from some people find it at different times of their lives, but in order to find it, you have to be exposed to it. You have to be introduced to it. So I still think about the times when I was introduced to Shakespeare, to August Wilson, and then coming into the film and TV land, to like what that's like and what those sides look like, and self-tapes and all of that stuff. And I think, there was a whole community that helped me build and lifted me up to get to where I am today. And I would love to foster that for the next generation. I think that's so important. So those are my
Geffri?
I have to agree with Siddiq. I think that like my main goal is to create platforms and opportunities, especially for children, because a lot of what we do, I feel like sometimes, especially with like social media, we don't really realize the amount of influence that we do have, whether we're on social media or not. We do have a platform, and we may have days where we're looking down on ourselves, but a lot of people are looking up at us. And I think that we have to constantly remember that. And even with choosing the roles that we do, like we all have purpose and we all have value, and it's going to matter. Like Zolee said, the things that we do and create may not matter. I mean, not saying it won't matter, but again, like it may not matter as much as it will, like, as it marinates and it gets better with time. But I agree, like just being able to do something to foster the youth, and to be able to uplift, not even just the youth, but our peers. We are the voices that, are going to carry us. And I just want to be able to say that I played a part in that. I would love to also have my own production company. I want to write and direct. Regina King is an icon to me. She's been in the game for so long. And she's done all types of projects, from, just the neighborhood projects to, Watchmen, you know what I mean? And I think that, we have just such a great opportunity if we all have the intention. And like, I intend on being in a position to where I'm not just depending on being granted an opportunity because of my ability, because of my acting, or because of how I look, or because of my chemistry with someone. I actually want to create these stories, produce these stories, and actually give people opportunities who are able to tell stories as well. Because there's a lot of talented people. I forgot who mentioned it, but it might have been you, Nick, where you said creators and creatives are getting younger and Blacker. So it's like, if we're in positions where we are now today, imagine if we had the bag that we wanted, or the opportunities like that we could give to be able to put those types of people on. I think that, that's ultimately the goal, just to continue planting these seeds and just watching them grow. And I'm trying to be like Cicely, okay? I'm trying to do my work until God calls me home. Look, I want to be an icon, is what I'm saying. No, but in all honesty, I just, I want to just live my dreams, honestly. But it starts with, supporting other people and just, like I said, planting those seeds and just watching them grow.
Nick?
It's a tough question. I'm going to go with my Beyonce pageant answer and say, to be happy. Seriously, there's some things, I have a journal full of things that I'd like to happen along the way, for sure. It's so interesting, Siddiq and Geffri, that you both are interested in working with children. I run a scholarship program. I've been running a scholarship program for the past 7 years that gives scholarships to artists of color, young artists of color. I would love for that to outlive me. A big part of my happiness is financial security, supporting myself doing what I love, being a titan in the communities in which I serve, people really looking to me as a barometer of change, a beacon of hope. And I want some kids, I want some cute little big head kids running around talking about how cool their dad is. Yeah.
And Coco?
Definitely to be happy, but also to be satisfied with like what I've done in this industry. I think like when I listen to like my songs from me being 9 years old, I'm just like, dang, I gotta get there for this little girl. Like, I've got to be able to walk away from this stuff knowing that I persevered and that I accomplished those things that I dreamed about since I was younger, and also to open the doors so that it's not half as hard for the next girl who looks like me, so that there's so many opportunities and there's so many outlets, not just for her creatively, but also emotionally and mentally. Like, there's so many things that I've learned through the pain of this industry that I'm like, why don't we have more therapy? Why don't we have more conversations? Why is there so much competition? Why is there not enough transparency? Like, through the lows, I've recognized that there's a lot more light that needs to be shed on for me and my experience, for dark-skinned Black women, for Black women in general, for our like internalized pain that we just like push through, you know what I'm saying? So I want to create more outlets like that, and I want there to be some weight to my name to where I don't have to do every role that comes to my table. I get to pick and choose what really inspires me and what I really want to be involved with, instead of just being like, this is a good opportunity, you know? I want to be just at a place where I can open doors for other people and I can choose which doors I walk through, and also not have to live in LA because I'm not from here. I like the South. So I want to move somewhere else. ASAP Rocky.
All of you were absolutely terrific. Thank you. On behalf of the SAG-AFTRA Foundation and the African American Film Critics Association, I want to thank you for sharing your experiences, processes, and craft with your fellow performers. You guys were really great.
Thank you so much for having
you,
this conversation.
Gil.
Really enjoyed
Peace,
it.
man. Thank you.
Yeah, nice talking
Absolutely.
with all of you. Seriously.